Alright, y'all. I have another video today. It's a top 10 video. It's My Hero. The top 10 villains in My Hero Academia. From what I've seen and just what I believe and see. And, I'll tell you. I got a number 10. I got Spinner. Spinner, he actually, has offensive moves. See, I have honorable people too I could put on the list. Like Kuragiri and, Mr. Compress. But all he does is compress people down into, marbles, and then all Kuragiri does is teleport people to where they need to be. Now they can throw a little bit of hands, but they ain't like that's not their like quirk. It's not used with their combat skill. They just have to know how to fight while using their quirk to support. That's why they ain't on this list. But Spinner can actually use a sword and other things. He models himself after Stain, the healer, the hero killer. He models himself after that guy. I got him at number 10. But at number 9, I have Twice. His powers. I find myself feeling as though I use his powers a lot. Where he multiplies himself and he has himself as a friend. But not really. He can multiply not just twice, but like he can like make multiple of himself. Like Naruto on some Shadow Clone Jutsu shit. And that overwhelms an enemy. One of too many guys. Even if he ain't the best, hand-to-hand fighter, that can overwhelm some people. He makes a 100-man army of himself. He's gonna fuck shit up. But at number 8, I got Rampa. See, let me tell you who Rampa is. I remember who Rampa is. Like, I don't watch My Hero like that, but I made sure to remember who Rampa was. See, Rampa is a guy who was working for Overhaul. And he fought against the boy named, Kirishima and Fat Gum. And he was like a fucking tough opponent for them. They weren't taking that easy. Fat Gum had to sit the fuck down for a minute. And like Kirishima had to like step up his fucking game and like hold that shit down against Rampa. And he has some hard punches too. He's like, he keeps doing that shit. He just like, man, damn. Rampa is like a powerful character. Actually, god damn it. You know what? Nah, fuck it. He's at number 8. That's fine. Because it's close between him and at number 7, I got Muscular. See, Muscular fought against, Izuku Midoriya. He was protecting, was that boy named Kota, I think? That boy, he was protecting him. He had to use Detroit Smash on this motherfucker. Put him down 100%. Power of the one for all. Because this guy was like he has the muscle, quirk. So he has like he can spam muscle. He makes sure he's the one that's built, if you will. Durability factor is high. However, the second time Midoriya fought him, y'all was quick. He wasn't wasting no time. He was, packing him up real quick. Alright. Number 6, I got Stain. I got Stain at number 6. Number 6, I got Stain. Stain, the hero killer. And this is why I got him there. If he cuts you and then he takes your blood, he can basically paralyze you, and then you can't do shit. He can kill you. Yeah, you'll be standing there like, damn, like I'm a powerful guy, but I can't fucking do shit. They had to be careful when they ran up on him. As far as the students of UA, that being Todoroki and Midoriya and Ida. You know, Ida went after him because he had killed Ingenio, his brother. Well, almost killed him. Put him in the fucking hospital, and he was like, "I want to get revenge for my brother. This villain's gonna, pay for what he's done." But he wasn't prepared for like that guy. That guy, he had, it's like heroes exist, but they like kind of like glowed about it. It's like the job is to save people, right? But you're gonna fuck around and like make yourself like a celebrity at the same time. That shit's not right. If you're a hero, you protect people. You don't just do that and then do it for the glory and the hype and, oh, this guy's the number one hero, this girl's the number, that's not what you do. That's not what that is. And Stain was like the hero killer because he didn't agree with that shit. He's like, that's not right. That's not a hero. And I have him at number 6. I have Overhaul at number 5. Overhaul, he can, deconstruct things and basically reconstruct things, but he likes to deconstruct things too. Izuku Midoriya, you saw what he had to do against him. He had to go, plus ultra basically, and use Ares' abilities to take him down. She amplified his quirk to a great degree. At a point in time where he was still learning his, one for all quirk. But with her power, he could, gave him recoup, so he like his body wouldn't, deteriorate during the fight. Another thing, but he was like he turned into this amalgamation of like all kind of like just stuff. Like he could deconstruct things and shit, but then he like lost his arms or some shit because Shigaraki was like they were going to be in an alliance. This was season 4. But then things happened, and it was really Shigaraki wanted those cork bullets, so he can like take people's corks away, render them powerless. That guy's a smart villain too, kind of, but he wasn't, the best. That's why I got number 5 though. Number 4, I got Gigantomachia. Some might have him higher. If you do have him higher, I don't care. That makes sense. And this motherfucker's a tank and a beast. They had to like win him over. They had to, convince him that Shigaraki is the way of the villains. Like he's the leader of the new cause. It's not, all for one. Even though, All For One has his motives and other things, Shigaraki is the guy who will lead and like destroy the heroes and finally put an end to these people who believe in All Might and all these other people. That's Shigaraki. Shigaraki had to prove himself. Gigantomachia is a giant. He can destroy shit real quick. They tried to stop him by, with acid and other things, but it was just like not working. That was in season 6. This guy is a fucking tank. Yeah, he's the definition of tank for My Hero Academia. Amongst other people, but he's one of them too that comes to mind. Number 3, I have Dabi. Dabi is the son of Endeavor. The one that he was, because Endeavor was always like, damn, I'm behind All Might. I want to be number 1. I'll train my son to, be the best. I'll train my sons to be the best. See, but Dabi had blue fire. And if you know anything about flames, when they turn blue, that's hot as fuck. That's really hot. That's like Azula fire from Avatar The Last Airbender. That shit burns shit down and burns shit down. Hot as fuck. This guy, he ended up burning himself. But like he survived though. They thought he was dead. He showed up years later and they were like, Endeavor was like, he was thrown for a loop. Like, he couldn't even fight his son. He was like, I thought my son was dead. This whole time I thought my boy was dead, and he was like right here, as a villain. But that's Shoto Todoroki's brother. Shoto was basically Endeavor's, next one, because Shoto, and unlike his brother, he had the ability to cool himself down from the fire because he had his mother's quirk too. He was basically a better version of Dabi. But Dabi is still like, I don't know, I would assume he's jealous of his younger brother too. You know, heroes and villains, and his father doing certain things, that drove him down the path of a villain. Forcing him to, be the best because he himself couldn't, outshine All Might. And then also, he burned himself to death. And then, who found him? The League of Villains found him. And he was taken in by them, and he just he stuck with them. He has to fight his brother, powerful, character, with that fire and shit. I got him at number 3 though. And at number 2, I have All For One, the head guy, the guy that started the villains and shit. Basically, he was if I'm not mistaken, he was the first quirk user. His mother was birthed him, and he had, the ability to take and give other people quirks. But his brother, had the All For One quirk, which was powerful too. you know, he could pass that on to somebody else, and then the next, user could have the powers of the previous user in order to fight against his brother, which was, in this case, it's All For One, right? All For One is a guy that All Might fought on many occasions, at Camino or whatever. All Might win his last, act as a hero, as a true hero and shit, defeated him, put him in, jail, prison. But that wasn't the end, See, All For One is smart too. He has years of experience, and not just experience, he has plans too for Shigaraki and everybody else in the League of Villains. He's the main villain. He wants to absorb, All For One and have all the power and shit. His brother was the guy who had the off or the one for all quirk at the beginning, and then it went on to other people, and it got down to now Izuku Midoriya is the 9th holder, I believe, right? He's either the 9th or the 8th. He's one of those two, but you know, All For One is the main bad guy. He's the main villain. Um, well, he is, but then he had groom number 1, which is Shigaraki, Tomoe Shigaraki. You know, um, his grandmother was the 6th user of, or she was the holder of One For All before All Might was. She shot All Might before he took the mantle of, hero and the one who holds One For All. The power that was also to All For One. Shigaraki killed his family, decay quirk. And then he wore these hands on his face as a reminder of, what he's done and other things. But he has to do it because these heroes these people he calls to All Might, and All Might's not a great person. The propaganda that All For One puts on Shigaraki, and then Shigaraki, takes that further, and he's like, I'm the guy now. I'm the fucking one who will, destroy all that shit. I'll decay all that shit. I'll destroy everything and rule over what's left. And he is powerful. He destroyed, Stars and Stripes. And I actually do like Shigaraki, actually, as a One Piece, not a One Piece guy, but, My Hero, as far as My Hero goes, I like Shigaraki the most. But what he did to Stars and Stripes, I'm just like, damn, you could have been a little bit easier on that bitch. Like you could have put her in the hospital forever or something, or something. That shit, was kind of sad and shit. The way they showed that episode in season 7, that made me stop watching, My Hero for a little bit. But he's, a real villain, a real badass and shit. They have they can't hold back anything, and it's hard for Izuku because he tries to he's one of those people who tries to find the good within other people too. But Shigaraki, might not be one of those types. All for one, not one of those types. You can't do that with them. You have to dispose of them. You know, My Hero Academia, I don't know how many seasons it has left. I think it only has one season left coming up. And I still have to watch the rest of season 7. But I had to get this video out to you. So running that back for you, 10 is Spinner, 9 is Twice, 8 is Rampa, 7 is Muscular, 6 I have Stain, 5 I have Overhaul, 4 I have Gigantomachia, 3 I have Dabi, 2 I have All for One, and then number 1 I have Shigaraki. And that's the top 10 villains in My Hero Academia for y'all. Stay cool on the corner.